appalled at racist abuse suffered by England players on social media after their Euro 2020 final loss. England were beaten on penalties by Italy at Wembley in heartbreaking fashion on Sunday night. Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho all missed from the spot as Gareth Southgate's men fell agonizingly short of Euro's glory. And the trio were all targeted by sick trolls on social media after their penalty misses. The FA released a statement addressing the disgusting abuse their players suffered. According to The Athletic, Rashford, Saka and Sancho had vile comments left on Instagram and sent monkey emojis. An FA spokesperson said, "The FA strongly condemns all forms of discrimination and is appalled by the online racism that has been aimed at some of our England players on social media. We could not be clearer that anyone behind such disgusting behavior is not welcome in following the team. We will do all we can to support the players affected while urging the toughest punishments possible for anyone responsible. We will continue to do everything we can to stamp discrimination out of the game, but we implore government to act quickly and bring in the appropriate legislation so this abuse has real-life consequences. Social media companies need to step up and take accountability and action to ban abuses from their platforms, gather evidence that can lead to prosecution and support making their platforms free from this type of abhorrent abuse."
Oi, look.
The taking of the knee over last month when the players tried to explain it to promote equality and be against racism was ridiculed.
And as soon as Saka missed that penalty, I turned to a friend I was watching it with, and I said to him, "Here it comes," because we're only a moment away from this sort of abuse. It hasn't gone away. It is there, and it needs to be dealt with.
The players have had an incredible togetherness and spirit, which I think has brought so many parts of our country together. So for some of them to be abused
Words can't describe what we've been through these last 3 months, really. It's just horrendous.
Yeah.
For some of them to be abused is unforgivable, really. I know a lot of that has come from abroad. You know, the people that track those things have been able to explain that, but not all of it. And it's just not what we stand for. We I think, have been a beacon of light in bringing people together, in people being able to relate to the national team, and the national team stands for everybody. And so that togetherness has to continue, and we've shown the power our country has when it does come together and has that energy and positivity together. We felt that from the fans, and I'm incredibly proud of the players.
Sad. Like, it's a sad morning for us all anyway, isn't it? You know, we dared to dream this day and our hopes have been dashed, but to wake up to this is kind of, it's more depressing, isn't it? Like, that we live in a country where this kind of response is, you know, the new normal now, isn't it? Like, this racism seems to be more and more prevalent.
So, hi. So, for the past week, football's been going on over here. And what's happened is, because they lost, they've been taking it out. And because the players was black, they take it out on the people, because in their heads, they believe because the black players lost them the Euros or whatever. I don't follow football, excuse me. So they feel that they're allowed to take out their frustration out on people. Now the players played really well according to what I read, and I've been through online. They've worked really well. And the youngest one of all of them, who is 19, he got it the worst, because even when he was playing, he got jerked back by the neck, which is a red flag, a red card, I think they said. So I looked further into the social media, and a mother was explaining that how her daughter was in fear of going to school and all that, and she would rather take a Uber. And to be honest, like others have said on most of the posts I've seen, is actually not surprising, because there was like an undercurrent of something going on. You can like feel it in the air, the tension. You know, when you're walking past the pub, they'll be outside the pub, and there's like a tension, you know, there's like something in the air. So the way how it panned out, right, because either way, even if he did win, it would have not made no difference. Personally, I think anyway, because it's like with everything, right? You can do a lot as a black person and they still don't see you as nothing important. So that is what's happening in UK right now. Right now, there's an undercurrent of racism, even higher, where a person was thrown into the Thames as well. People's beaten up at certain places as well. So the children is really, it's like the children is fearing to go to school, etc. Which this was like how it was when that brigadier soldier got killed by that man in Woolwich. It was exactly the same, but the angle's aimed at the Muslims. You know, there was a lot of Islamophobia at the time. But it's no difference. It's all the same, you know. Hatred is hatred. That's it at the end of the day. And it is very sad, because these people, these youngsters who was playing on the football team worked really hard. Like, as you see, the mural got defaced. They had to fix it and put hearts and stuff on it. Racial Twitters, monkey emojis, you name it, it's been going on. And I mean, people do say, which I've heard a lot of people said, that how UK is not racist. Yeah, the UK is racist. I mean, at first it was PC before, when, you know, they couldn't say certain things, and Nigel Farage was like, oh yeah, look, I can't say this, we can't say that. Boris Johnson, on the other hand, was saying, oh, you know, we got to stamp out racism, but he's part of the cycle too, because the Tory, there's a parties over here, the Tories and the Labour, and I think there's others, yeah. So if I don't know all the names, I'm not going to even mention all of them, because like political things is ridiculous. Unless a white person's lived amongst black people all their lives, they are much more educated and much more understanding of certain things. The ones who come from further out, I'll say Chelsea, Fulham, some cases, they understand the racism, they understand the struggle, they understand it because they have been around it. But this now, it's like the whole country, the whole of England is up in arms about them losing in a football tournament, which I'm thinking they needed a reason anyway. At first, it was the pandemic thing or the virus thing. You know, when people need excuses, you know, to say something to a person who is not what's the word I'm looking for? It's like you're looking for an excuse, basically, you know. And I've seen a couple posts where they said like they're the Teddy Boys' grandchildren, which is not far from the truth. Because if you are brought up hating somebody, right, from young, you will never understand the person's plight. You always see them as a threat to you or whatever. That's why I did the sus law, right? Because the sus law was similar to that. So over here, they have a mad history of violence against Black people over here. I mean, there's a mad history in America as well, but there is is very big over here, the violence. The violence, like i.e. towards that young boy, Reed, where he was threatened, you know, he was only like 14, 15, you know. You would not think that grown men will have this intent on a young person. So it doesn't matter how high you climb as a person in whatever, whether you be in work, whether you be in whatever strain of life you be in, they will always look at you funny. So you're just thinking to yourself, like, so it's basically, I think the children play up to the stereotype because you hate me anyway. So yeah, but there is a post of a lady which I'm gonna find. I'm gonna pull it up. The lady where she was explaining about her daughter being in fear of going to school. I'm gonna find it. Hold up, give us a minute. Right, here we go.
People. I kind of felt compelled to have to jump on here and just have a quick conversation, really, because there's been so many messages that I've had on social media concerning what I posted about my daughter this morning, and the fact that she was concerned about going to school this morning. Whoops. So what have I done? Sorry, she was concerned about going to school this morning because of the football last night. And I just thought, with the number of messages I was getting, I just wanted to maybe elaborate a little bit more, because obviously the post that I put up, which is very short, which is very, very to the point, do forgive me, because I was actually working. And I just thought my phone kept going. There were so many messages on there. I thought if I start to respond to everyone, I'm not going to get any work done. So I thought, let me just jump on here and have a quick conversation about the post, and I'll just give you the context and where it started from. So obviously last night, England were playing Italy. Like most people that live in England, regardless of their colour, unless they have a special, affiliation to Italy, we're supporting England. That includes us Black people. So, my daughter is an absolute football fanatic. She can talk grown men under the table when it comes to football. Trust me, you can ask her uncles. They can't try her. So she was here in the living room watching her football. I was downstairs in the kitchen because I had some stuff that I needed to take care of, and I didn't want the TV on down there, so, I wasn't watching it. When England lost, Isabel came downstairs and she said, "Mum, I'm not going to school tomorrow." And I said, "What do you mean?" Sorry, my rug is twisted and it's giving me OCD. Yeah, so she said, "Mum, I'm not going to school tomorrow." In fact, I rephrased, her words to me were, "Mum, none of the Black kids are going to school tomorrow. I'm not going." I said, "You're going to school, you have to go to school." And she said, "Well, how am I supposed to get on public transport?" And her exact words to me was, "Yeah, that's how people are going to walk past her and whisper monkey under their breath." And I kind of stopped then. And then she said to me, she came back and said, "Mum, I'm not going to school. None of the Black kids are going." Now, I fell asleep in the couch. I didn't get up and go to my bed till about 4 a.m. Then I woke up again briefly. So I missed her. She did go to school. I get a message from her saying, Mum, I'm going to have to take a cab or take an Uber because she's connected to my Uber account. So she just orders Ubers more than she's supposed to anyway. And said, Mum, I'm going to order an Uber because me and another black girl were at the bus stop and the bus driver just saw us and drove past. I'm late for school. And then she said, well, at least no one's called me a monkey yet. And here's the thing. The fact that my 14-year-old is expecting to be called a monkey today is a problem for me. It's a problem for me. The fact that there is an expectation to be racially abused is a problem for me. I went through this foolishness as a child in the 70s. When Black people say that nothing has changed, and I've always said that the only thing that has changed is that the racism is repackaged. People don't want to understand. When people come out with, oh, I don't see color, we're all the same. No, we are not. No, we are not. We should all be the same. We should all be treated the same. But the reality is we are not. Because if we were, how many white children felt, or how many, English children felt that they had to be extra vigilant and careful on their way to school today? They didn't, because it's not a reality that you have. And so therefore, if you want to be able to deal with some of these issues, we have to be honest that the issue actually exists. Stop telling people that you don't see color. Stop telling people it's not that bad. Stop telling people you're overreacting, because it's damn annoying. It is basically racial gaslighting. And I, for one, if you remember that video that I did in my night dress with my head wrap at 12 midnight last year, you will know that I am not the one. You will know that I am not the one. For any child to feel, I've had friends on my WhatsApp sending me messages that they had to drive their children into school today. Why? Why? Why should we have to? Because England lost a flipping match and 3 black boys happened to take the penalties and they missed. And so what? And it doesn't make you think that it's partly these same black boys that you are quite willfully and comfortably calling niggers that got the team there in the first place? How many black players are in the Premier League? There was a time Arsenal was full of black players. The French team full of black players. But when people are taking the knee, you feel that you have the audacity to say this has got nothing to do with football and start booing. But you see, I don't blame us. I don't blame people. It serves us right. Because really and truly, if they hate black players so badly, take them all out of the Premier League and see where British football would be. Take them all out of the damn Premier League and see where international football would be without some of these same people that you've now dubbed niggers, and it's going all over Snapchat and social media that today is lynch and nigger day. Really? I'd like you to try it. I'd like you to try it. And that is the reality of black people in this country. That we are so quick to downplay and deny is the reality. This is our reality. What you don't see, you see, this is open. But what you don't see is when we are in the office and we are being racially abused, when we're told that we have a chip on our shoulder, when we're told that we're playing the race card. And like I've said before, if you are holding the whole freaking deck and the only card you have given me is the race card, well, that's the only card I can damn well play. I don't actually have a choice. So we need to stop this denial that there is not a problem. There is a problem. There is a problem. I believe Boris Johnson said not too long ago that, Britain is not a racist country. You get to say that when you're black. We get to tell you. We get to tell you. We can break down to the covert and the overt, racism. We get to educate you. We get to school you. You know why? Because it's our reality. It's like a man telling a woman what it's like to live in a society as a woman. You don't get to tell us that. We get to tell you. The issue is, are you willing to learn and are you willing to be educated? Because the moment a 14-year-old child can say, I am not going to school because I perceive, not that she's experienced, I perceive that I am going to be treated differently and my life may be in danger, let me tell you something, Great Britain, you have a problem. You have a problem. I'm reading stories of somebody being pushed in the Thames, a black person being pushed in the Thames. I'm reading stories of black people being attacked because of football. And we knew this from school from in the 70s, that we were only considered and classed as British when we were performing well at sports. The moment you lose, you go back to being a nigger. We're used to it. When we are performing like the performing monkeys that we are, then it's fine. Then you're British. The moment you lose a title, then the African-born, the Jamaican-born, the Nigerian-born, so-and-so, immediately there is a disconnection between you and your Britishness. It's wrong. It is wrong. And I think as black people, we need to stop being accommodating. What do I mean by that? In the workplace, when racism is going on, stand up. It may cost you your job. Hence one of the reasons why I can't work for anybody in an office anymore. Not because I was difficult, but because I decided that enough was enough. I was not going to allow myself to be bullied, to be disrespected, to be maltreated. It was no longer acceptable that when I expressed any kind of dissatisfaction or distaste, I was immediately labeled as you're aggressive, not assertive, not passionate, you're aggressive. I will not allow that kind of racial gaslighting in my camp ever again. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It is absolutely unacceptable. I normally can handle racism and that kind of foolishness, but for my daughter to tell me that she does not want to go to school, and then when she got to the station where she could get a cab, they said there's been increased demand. She had to walk. She had to walk the rest of the way because black people, okay, anyone would think we're in the deep bloody South, are afraid for their children because England lost the European Cup. I mean, what kind of stupidity and foolishness is this? What kind of absolute nonsense is this? And yet when we as black people are saying that, listen, it is not as calm as you think it is, we are told, keep quiet. Well, I don't see color. And what I find the most infuriating is when you are a person who is not of color, being educated by a person of color, you are still standing by what you think you know. Let me tell you, if you're one of such people, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. The skin that we have, it is just casing. You would be surprised what goes on underneath. I did a genetic DNA test, and I can say it now because I shared it with my family. I am 36% Italian genetically. Do I look bloody Italian to you? Do I look Italian to you? But genetically, that is what I am. Some of you white people who are so racist and so retarded and so stupid in your views and being unaccepting of other people, you're probably more bloody Ghanaian than I am. How about that? All this is just casing. It's just packaging. Whether it comes in a white package or a yellow package or a brown package, it's just packaging. It means nothing. So the person that you're so free to call a nigger, and what, you're probably more black than I am. How about that? But my point is, it's about time people are educated. It's about time that we take the responsibility to school people and don't allow it to, people to slide and say, well, I don't want to say anything because they will think I have a chip on my shoulder. Why don't you look at my broad shoulders? Do I look like I have a chip on either one of them? With me, you will go to school. I will not stand for it. I will not make excuses for it. No part of racism is cute. And if you're that stupid to stand by and allow people to behave like that, you are part of the problem. Every white person should lose that very irritating phrase of, I don't see color. See it. Because not to see it means you don't see me. Not to see it means you don't see my difference. See my difference, but respect it. I don't want to be Indian. I don't want to be Asian. I want to be me. And I come with a difference. It doesn't make me better than you. It doesn't make me more beautiful than you. But it certainly doesn't make me less human or less in need of respect. It's unacceptable. I shouldn't have to be sitting here worrying or wondering how it's going to be for my daughter to get on the bus to come home in 2021. And when George Floyd was murdered, we're saying, oh, things have changed. And you have idiots like Candace Owen that help facilitate the racism by being blind and being a coconut. Let none of us be accused of that, because this is really a problem. It's a serious problem. I had a message from my daughter, messaging me, and it's on the other post that's on there. How can she say to me, well, Mum, at least I've not been called a monkey yet? Why should Isabel expect to be called a monkey because of football? And we don't think there's a problem in this country. Come on now. Something is not right, and something really does need to be done. It's wrong. And if people want to help, start to call this behavior out. Call it out when nobody else is watching. Don't call it out because you're going to get brownie points. Don't call it out because your black friends are watching. Call it out because it's wrong. Call it out because it's not right. Call it out because when you are allowing racism, the society doesn't just become difficult for us, it becomes difficult for you too. Because when people decide not to think outside the box, to be as hateful as you are, that's when people start to attack each other and do all kinds of things that is unbecoming of any civilized society. Africans, keep out of the racism argument if you have not been brought up, been raised here, or cannot understand it. And I say this because we don't need the messages diluted. Unless you have lived in England as a black person, you will not understand racism. You can't understand racism from an arm's length perspective. It doesn't work. You have to speak to people. You have to speak to people like me. That as a child of 8, I'm told you can't come in my house because my dad doesn't like black people. Or the fact that your white friends are allowed to enter into a home of another child, but you have to stand at the door. Until you have had those kind of experiences, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me because you don't know what it is like. Thankfully, some of us, that those experiences didn't tarnish us to the point where we hate white people or we hate people who are not black. Because I am in some of these black groups on social media, and there is a hatred in some people, not all of them. But you can just hear, like, someone will put up a post, should we trust white people? And people, oh, hell no, you can't trust those people. That is the society that has been created. That is the society that has been created. Can you blame people? No, you can't. Because they are talking about their lived experience. The problem that we have is when we're trying to tell you about our lived experience, you're saying it's not that bad. How dare you? And with what authority do you determine that our lived experience is not that bad? How dare you? It's like me telling somebody who has been a victim of domestic violence, saying, well, it's not that bad. Was I the one facing the blows in the house? I don't get to determine how bad it is when I haven't walked that walk, when it has not been my lived experience. I don't have the luxury of even having an opinion. You can't go there. How many of you have had to talk to your children? I'm having somebody on my Facebook, one of our friends, saying they're having to talk to their daughter about the N-word because she's going to hear it and she has to have it explained to her. How old is that child? If I'm not mistaken, Derek, if you're watching this, your daughter can't be more than 9. And yet this is what we are having to deal with. So if you are watching this and you're not black like me, that phrase, you don't see color, lose it. Don't you dare come out with, it can't be that bad. Don't you dare say it's being blown out of all proportion. Don't you dare use David Beckham's situation being an effigy of him being burnt, being the same as racism. His kids were never at risk. Our children are at risk. Go onto social media, be it Snapchat, whatever, and see the number of posts where black people are being called niggers. Go and count. Go and count. That you get different points if you spit on a nigger. Then you get additional points if you slap a nigger. But the ultimate is to lynch a nigger. And somehow this is not a problem. Somehow we're overreacting. And when are we supposed to determine that we overreacted? After we've been attacked or before? After I have to worry about my daughter being, able to come home from school, or before? You don't get to tell me what it's like, because we are having the lived experience. I was born and raised in England. I was born in Ilford. I know what it was like in the 70s. What were some of the names we were called? Sambo, Jungle Bunny, Coon. What were the other names? Black Nigger, Monkey, Rubber Lips. What else? What weren't we called? We were kids. We were kids. I didn't know I was different until I went to school. Then I was like, oh, I see. Those are our lived experiences. Does it get any better? No. This is what happens. I actually didn't mean to talk this long, but it is what it is. What changed was the law changed. The law said you are no longer allowed to call people certain names. But what the law cannot do is legislate for what is in a man's heart. That's the one area that the law has got no jurisdiction and no power. So what happens? People then know what the framework is in terms of being able to operate under the radar of racism and know how to behave. But racism of itself has not changed. Because if it has changed, then what you're telling me is what we are seeing on social media and on the news is a figment of our imagination. Because what you're seeing on the news is what happens in our workplaces. But it happens in a way where it can't be articulated. Because people don't understand the nuances around racist talk and racist behavior. So when we're trying to go to HR and say we are being racially abused in the workplace and it is affecting our mental health, that's when you'll be further gassed into, are you sure it's not just your imagination? Are you sure it's not just you? And that's the problem. And we're having to prove that we are being racially abused. That is our reality, okay? That is what we go through. So if you happen to be Black and a woman as well, it's even worse. It is tough because you have the image of the angry Black woman. You can't even be upset. I remember an incident at work where this colleague of mine, I was senior to her because I was a manager there. She was obsessed with me. Everything I did seemed to be her business. And one day she decided to be her usual self and she screamed at me. I took myself out of that situation. I never lose my temper at work. And I sat at the opposite side of the office and there she was screaming. Guess who got pulled up on it? Guess who got pulled into the office and got pulled up on it? And even though there were witnesses, what was said was, well, at the end of the day, you are quite intimidating. I mean, really? I'm intimidating. Yeah, I wasn't the one screaming and shouting, but what happened? I mean, gosh, the usual happens. This woman started to cry and, obviously, look at me, this tall, big Black woman. I'm so frightening. I got into trouble for that. But you want to hear the joke? That lady's married to a Black man. Her husband's Nigerian. And these are some of the things that we went through in the workplace. Because this particular woman, every woman of color that she worked with had problems with her. Every last one of them. I wasn't the first. I don't know if I was the last. But those are the things that we have to deal with. Those are our realities. But people assume that because somebody's got mixed race children, they're not racist. Really? I could tell you a thing or two. Because some people are inherently racist. I remember a girl that used to be a friend of mine. I remember applying for a job as a head of customer service for a construction company. Now, customer service is my field. Everything was fine. I was told that I was the best thing since sliced bread. I was told I'm the person that they're looking for, yada, 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 until they went and looked on my profile on LinkedIn. All of a sudden, that job was no longer available. This girl wouldn't take my calls. I had to now go through another agent pretending I wasn't me, and miraculously this girl was available. And I said to her, is there a problem? I noticed you've just been on my LinkedIn profile and you can just see my little black face there. And all of a sudden the job is no longer available. This happened about 5 years ago, 4 years ago. 4 years ago. This friend of mine, in quote, she was married to a black man, has mixed race children, came out with the most vacuous, most unacceptable, racist piece of nonsense. And I have never spoken to her since. Oh, it's my imagination. I wasn't qualified. Have you ever had my CV in your possession to know what I'm qualified for and what I'm not qualified for? Oh, well, a lot of agencies do that. The jobs aren't even available. And because I run an agency, I'm like, darling, you run an agency for lower, end of the scale in terms of staff. I do head of service work. So therefore, you cannot compare the kind of agency you're running to the kind of post I would be applying for. She wouldn't even consider that it may have been because of race. Anything but that, anything to accept that I might just be right. And she's got mixed race children and she will only date black men. I'm just keeping it real here. And these are some of the issues that we face. The moment you speak up, oh, then you're being racist as well. No, darling, I'm telling you what reality is. And if we don't speak about this without being gaslit, we are not able to deal with this issue and deal with it effectively. There is a problem in this country when it comes to racism. There is a problem. It is unacceptable. And for as long as we keep lying to ourselves that it's not a problem, it will continue. I, for one, I am sick of it. I should not have to be worrying why my daughter is afraid of going to school because of bloody football. Because of football. And the joke of it is, I'm in a group, I'm not going to say what the group is, predominantly Black Africans, and somebody in the group said that they were supporting Italy, and the person was accused of all sorts. A mouthful of abuse. They were called, only a fool would not support England. We support you, and this is what we get. And this is why, when I do talks on racism and colorism, what have you, I always say, listen, the truth of the matter is you're as British as you're allowed to be. That's the reality. You can feel British. You can be born here and raised here like myself. But unfortunately, there will always be a vast majority, and they are not in the minority, a vast majority of people who are quick to remind you, you're not British.
And that's real.
Take from that piece of information and do with it what you will. But I, for one, I am disgusted, but I'm not surprised because I've lived it. I have been able to extricate myself from it for my own mental health. I've had to come out of it. I don't work in offices anymore. I predominantly did local authority work. I don't do it because I'm tired of, oh, can you come into the office for a minute, Delys? And can you do this a minute, this? And you are quite intimidating. I was even told that because I'm tall. So what am I supposed to do? Break my legs and walk on my knees into the office? It's too much. I pray that everybody's child will be safe. I pray for those of you whose children are not Black, that you educate your children. Because what we see is a failure of parental guidance, a failure of parents teaching their children what is the right and the right way to behave. Parents who have failed their children, who didn't do better for themselves and therefore couldn't do better for their kids, who are perpetuating this foolishness. And when you look at the fact that London in this time is very, very much a multicultural society, only on the surface, in terms of thinking and in terms of attitude, nothing has changed. Because you see these people jumping up and sharing things on their social media about lynch a nigger, spit on a nigger, slap a nigger. They're at work today. They're at work today. Some of them are your managers. Some of them are your subordinates. Some of them are people that work in your canteens. Some of them are Uber drivers because they will put on the facade of respectability. But they were on the TV last night.
Yes, speak it. Speak it.
They are all around us. And it's about time people started to educate themselves and stop lying to yourselves that it's not happening, that it's not really, racism in this country isn't a thing. Stop lying to yourselves because it very much is a thing. So guys, that's all I wanted to say. That for certain reasons, I don't really want to go as deep as I would like. But, you know, I've said enough. I'll just read out a couple of your comments. Failure of parental guidance. That is so true. Thank you, sis. That's Kakra. This thing is so exhausting.
So what she just described there is a whole of everything, is the whole, basically. I am not going to take away from what she said, because, like, even when you got a little one in nursery, you know, you have to think about all them things, you know, like I'm sending my child into the nursery. Would they be treated right? All them things you have to think about. It's very deep, you know, especially after things like this, after events like this has happened. You know, like I said, when the Nigerian guy killed the army guy, right? Islamophobia went up by a lot over here, by a lot, literally. A lot of attacks on Muslims. Loads of families were scared to come out. It was just mad. It was crazy. And on top of that, there was like a tension in the air. Like right now, there's tension in the air. You can feel it in the air, literally. Like you have to be on your P's and Q's as you're walking. You have to be very alert. And it's like to think that you cannot walk freely. You cannot walk anywhere. You don't know, you know, and it's not good to feel that way. And the fact that the child said that she wasn't called a monkey, and I'm not going to show the post what they put up on Snapchat, because me putting that up here, that's enforcing the action, you know, because they had that on Muslim people as well, you know, take off their hijab, points, all this stuff. It's ridiculous. And I'm thinking to myself, this is 2021. I'm thinking, wow, is this the 70s or the 80s? Like, is this really happening? You know, many football players have spoken about it. Ian Wright was one of them. I can't remember the next player that spoke about it. A lot of players have spoken about it. They has fight the whole thing. They did fight the racism in football at one point. But like I said, I don't follow football like that. So I'm just speaking from what I remember from the 90s. You know, there was a lot of that going on. And now it's just resurfaced now. And like she says, you don't know who like all the people who was out during the football time, you don't know. There was like, could be the Uber driver. There could be anybody. You don't know. I mean, on another road from me, I saw the flag. There's one single St. George's flag. Now, the St. George's flag doesn't signify good. You know, when you see the St. George flag, you know it means something more than what it is, because that flag was used in so much stuff, so much organizations, racial organizations. It was just crazy. So when you see this flag now, you're just thinking, boy, you know what it means straight away. You know, right now what I'm doing, I'm reading the body language. When I'm walking, I'm reading body languages, everything now. So I read them, you know. It's just very nerving to, like I said, to think that a young child, like a person had to sit down and explain what the ninja word mean. Can you imagine? I mean, I have to explain it to my little one. Like, I don't need to even go, like, you know, we shouldn't have to go through this. And another one thing comes to mind, the one with the tea. I don't know if everybody, whoever from the UK remembers the tea situation, where the boy was saying gorilla, and he pointed to the woman, the woman picking the tea, and guess what color she was, you know. Or another situation was, oh, someone stole it, you know, and they said who stole it. The child, you know, is taught from home Like, you can program a child from young to think a certain way, and they will grow up thinking the same as they get older. You train a child in the way it should grow, so when it comes old, it shall not depart from it. And these people not people, I don't even want to sound like that, but these children are still is the same, and it's really sad. I don't want to sound like an ignorant, because I'm not ignorant. I'm not ignorant to a levels that I cannot sit in a place and be amongst whoever I have to be amongst, because you cannot lock off everybody in the same presence, because get different experiences. But yesterday, I'm like, bro, after yesterday, they put out the boy. The boy is only 19, for God's sake. He's 19 years old. Saka is 19 years old. He's getting racial threats or whatever. He was picked for every reason. He was picked for the skill that he was picked for. He's good at football. He missed a penalty. Oh, wow, a penalty. He missed a couple penalties or something. I can't even remember how the strippiness goes. And then people are sending him racial slurs. The other guy, Muriel, what was shown, he is feeding children from his own money. So he's feeding everybody's children. He's not feeding just black children. He's feeding everybody's children, because at one point they was taking away free school meals. He's feeding everybody. He's not saying, oh no, I'm not going to feed you because you're black. Now I'm just thinking, so why that, you can't just be like on your ignorance. In the 60s, there was a lot of ignorance. Oh, they're coming over here to take over our jobs and all this fuckeries. Okay. 2020 past 2021. Pandemics happen or whatever's happened. And then they're looking for a scapegoat. What is all this about, a scapegoat? Why are you looking for a scapegoat? I just think that how the hostility is there. You can clearly see the hostility is there. When you look on the videos of how they was reacting, the Indian man was literally on the ground. They were kicking him in like a ball. Like a ball. He was on their side. You're kicking him like a ball. He's backing your team. He's not backing an Indian team. And like I've been saying to people, in cricket and athletics and all the other sports, there's none of this behaviour. But football is a whole nother something else. And I never wish bad. I didn't say, oh no, right, they ain't gonna get, or whatever. I wasn't even following the thing. I literally wasn't following the thing. All I noticed was how quiet the roads was, thinking it's bank holiday or some shit. But no, there's an undercurrent. The current is so high, is boiling over. So I'm not gonna waffle on, I'm not gonna waffle on. I was even gonna find another video. There's another video. But why should people have to get their backs up? Like, it's just so sad. Oh yes, I'm gonna show you the young man. Let me show you the young man and his work he's doing, making sure everybody eats. He's making sure everybody eats. He's not even business, whether you're black or white or indifferent, whatever. You're looking at whether you're Muslim, Jewish, or whatever. Now, let me show you him. See, he's feeding everybody. This guy. This is the guy whose mural was defaced. See all that food there? He's feeding everybody. Everybody and their auntie. The children as well. He's made it his mission to feed the children. He's not saying, oh no, I don't want to feed this one, I don't want to feed that one. He's feeding everybody. And that to me is humanity right there. But no, football happens, everybody turn crazy, all hell loose, let's get out our pitchforks and whatever. It's a football game. It's a football game. There's so much things going on. There's more things coming that is worse than what they seem to grasp right now. And anyway, right, there wasn't even so-called social distancing. Where are the social distancing then? I didn't see none. Do you see any social distancing? I didn't see no social distancing then. So, you know, come on. Sort it out. Shouldn't have to walk around being in fear of my life or whatever. You should be able to walk wherever you want to walk. You know? Like I said, what happened to that young boy who got killed by them men? That was unjust. Death threats, all this. What for? Anyways, I'm not going to prolong and go on and on because it don't make no sense. Because, you know, you can go on and on about the same thing and there's no end game to this. And it's so strange because there was loads of them in Leicester Square, I think, yesterday, or Portobello. There's a place called Portobello in London over here, or Leicester Square. It's flooded. It's flooded out. It's flooded out. That hatred you have, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But you hate. The same people you hate will be the people who come and save your ass. You don't know. So I'm not going to take away what that woman said because she spoke a whole lot there, you know. She spoke a whole heap. I think that's how I be thinking sometimes. But sometimes I haven't got the people. Sometimes when you're talking to the people, sometimes, you know, you don't know how to talk sometimes, you know, nowadays. So with that said, I'm going to come off. I ain't going to even prolong because I have other videos to do right now. I just thought I'd bring this up because, like, it's happening now at this present moment before I move on to my other stuff. So, as you can see, this man is feeding people. He's not even looking at the color. Children. You're not looking at their color. Not looking at their color. And like I said, I am even pulling up that Snapchat foolishness. But anyways, I'm going to go. I hope you have a good day, a good night. Enjoy what's left of the night because it's nearly 1 here, I think. So just, you know, just stay safe out there. You know what I mean? That's all I can say. Something is going to change. Well, when the change come, I don't know how this change is going to come. It's going to take a lot of something for things to change. But like she said, something is going to take some, like if you step on somebody so much, you know, the people will it will come to a place where they will fight back. And if it comes to that place where they fight back, all hell break loose over here. I know that for sure. I don't even know how much they can have so much police and that make no difference. All hell break loose. Police, everybody will be getting it left, right, and center because people get fed up of the bullshit. They get fed up. You push them. You poke the bear. You see when that bear get peed off and it swipe you, then it's all over. So you cannot keep poking the bear. You know. So that's all I want to say. I don't even want to prolong the thing. You know what I mean? But anyway. I'll see you. Take care. Bye. Please like and subscribe and comment. And we don't need no insulting comments, please. Make it clean. Thank you. Bye.